I did not do a formal Sonic review. I will be actually editing and developing one, but I want to do a kind of a quick type of talk. Sonic 3 is one of those movies that I'm gonna watch multiple times, but it's funny. What prompted me to do this was someone was doing their review, and I have no problem giving your opinions or whatever you want to nitpick. There are things that I can talk about this movie that aren't perfect, but no movie is. Um, but it's so insane to me how many video game fans or people who are nerds, they don't understand how to look at movies as adaptations, and then they miss obvious plot points that they would have gotten if they didn't sit there focusing on the things that they were complaining about and just watch the damn movie. This happens so often with so many reviewers that think they have like they have good points, and then you're like, no, 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 let me, no, 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 you missed this, and this. Like, I could tell from this one review that I just watched, he did not pay attention. Like, here's an example. He talked about the arc, or the big gun, the big giant freaking ray, whatever, the arc ray. And he's like, Gunn never explained why they needed Gerald to build this. Yes, they did. They said it pretty plainly. The power to blow up anything at any time. It's a weapon. It's not really. They don't have to explain something that was just said. It was a weapon used to blow shit up. I mean, come on, dude. That's like asking, why the fuck did you build the Death Star? I mean, it's pretty obvious that they had to go through a diagram by diagram explanation of why they needed a giant moon-sized orb with the power to blow up shit. The power was to blow up towns and strike people at a millisecond and be done with it. A devastating weapon. Yes, that was the point of the weapon. Gerald, being a complete insane psychopath hellbent on revenge, used it for revenge. And the whole key was Shadow, because powering it with something with nuclear or weaponry that they had there already is one thing. Powering it with Shadow creates it a planet destroyer. That was the whole point. Duh. That's the key. Like, these are things that they're too busy complaining that they're missing. And I'm just like, that's what I can't stand. And I'm not saying you gotta like this movie, but Jesus Christ, man, your agendas are so weird. Like, that's why I'm not a big fan of nerds, man. Nerds are not good reviewers. They're really not. They don't know how to. I'm talking like self and like really involved nerds that don't know how to review. You got to learn how to review, guys. You have to pay attention and be on the plot points. If you're not, you're going to look stupid. But anyhow, what I watched from this movie, I liked this movie because it was quick to the point. Though I actually would have preferred it would have been longer. This movie should have been 2:15 to 2:30. Yes, 2.5 hours for a Sonic movie you think is absurd. Not for a movie of this magnitude. There were certain things I wish they kind of went through more. I felt they should have put more into Maria and Shadow's backstory. Yes, it was sad and emotional, but it also could have been done with even more explanations to certain things, even more writing. There was not enough on Gerald Robotnik, and Shadow's relationship in backstory. There was not nearly enough. There should have been more on Gerald, maybe trying to be, because they could have wrote Gerald to me to be a bit more complex than the psychotic revenge-driven character that they made him into the movie. No, he should have been more complex. Like, he should have been the one protecting Shadow from more dangerous experiments. That he was the one that was like a father figure to Shadow. It would have made more sense for that family circle unit. And we didn't get much with Gerald and Maria. That was a missing piece of this movie that I will say was missing the mark. There should have been 15 minutes of just that alone. Then you would have gotten the relationship to why Shadow and Sonic are both two sides of the same coin but different directions. Where where Sonic could have been a complete and different character with using his power for bad deeds. Now everyone says Dark Sonic. I don't think you're ever going to get that Dark Sonic shit. It's too stupid and edgy. No offense, but it's not going to work in live action like that. Turning his fur black. No, 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 no. The whole point here is to show that Sonic could easily do bad things. Just with the Chaos Emerald alone, you saw how he used it for revenge. He was going to kill Shadow. He could have done some devastating shit. Hell, imagine if he slips the wrong way and loses it, he could blow up a whole freaking town with that power. The whole point was what he said at the end. I'm not old enough yet to wield this power, and he proved it in this movie. He wasn't old enough. You let rage and anger let you use a power so great and gifted to do destructive things. That was the problem. And that's why Sonic kind of turned at the end. But there was just too much for me. That was one thing they did miss. I will be honest with you. They missed that. It was very short to the point, but in your kind of your quest to do that, you missed out on a link here. Like everything else, the dynamics were pretty much set in stone. No pun intended. Don't say it. Was pretty much done in the first two movies. You don't need to do much more development with Tom and Sonic and Knuckles. We already have gotten that established. We can already do that with their dynamic, and it works out well. Gerald and Shadow is a missed opportunity for me. That is the one thing that I will say they missed in this movie. That being said, the dialogue was very much what it should be. I love Shadow's story. He was very complex and dark. The review I watched also did not like Keanu as Shadow, and I gotta be honest, I don't know what you wanted. Did you want like more brooding and edgelord like the games? I don't get it. I really, there were some parts that I forgot Keanu was voicing it, and it felt so like almost evil. Like there is that scene. I guess this is a spoiler review. Screw it. That scene where Shadow was taunting Sonic when he was in super form. They're both in super form, and he's like, "What kind of hero abandons his friends, abandons his family?" I will admit, though, that was a bit out of character for someone like Shadow, because Shadow doesn't seem to want to do something like that. Shadow does not take joy in things like that. It felt throughout the movie, he felt terrible. Even punching Tom the way he did, he felt like the only reason I even can be okay doing what I just did, because I felt I had to do it because of Maria. But he even felt like, this isn't right. What I just did was horrible. I'm no better than the people that I'm apparently getting revenge on. I'm no better. And that's kind of the big catch-22 of revenge. You end up being no better than the people that hurt you. And you basically hurt people. And that's the thing. And then it became another circle. And again, the other review I just watched literally missed that whole point of like why Sonic they didn't, like, the whole video was called Shadow Sonic 3 has an identity crisis. No, it doesn't. You just missed the point of the message. Hurt people. The circle of vengeance. Once again, I've talked about it time and time again, the circle of vengeance. The circle of vengeance is a circle because it never ends and it always leads to the same stupid thing. Red Dead Redemption 2 is the greatest revenge story of all time, and also the greatest example of why revenge goes wrong. I want you guys to pay attention to when Jack kills the douchebag. Inspector, whatever the hell his name is. I forget the name of that guy because he's such a douchebag, I don't even remember his name. Someone will tell me in the comments, I'm sure. When he kills him, he looks at his gun. That is a signal, a symbol of the weight of nothing, you know? It's the weight of nothingness where you realize all this is for nothing. You earn nothing. The whole point of this movie was to show you that revenge does nothing but cause more pain and suffering, and that's all Shadow was doing. Shadow was just doing nothing but proving everyone that thought he was a monster correct. If you actually take the time to watch this movie instead of going in comparing it to the games, which I cannot understand why fucking people still make that mistake to this day. Just let the movie settle and realize the message is that Sonic was going to do the same thing because of what happened to Tom. He was going to make the same mistake and be something he's not. He's not a monster, and he's certainly not dark enough or evil enough to pull something like that off, but his anger allowed him to just do all that. I mean, you have to be honest, the dude sat there and used a power that he once rejected because he knew it was too risky to try and murder someone. Sonic, of all people. By the way, everyone that said Sonic that has been disappointed in the Sonic character, there's your arc. That right there is what makes this movie so much different than the first two. And even then, not really, because the first two have an arc. All of them have arcs. The first movie is Sonic accepting a family, finally finding a family and accepting this family and the place that he has to protect. Second movie, becoming a hero and actually understanding what a hero is and learning from his mistakes, especially with the Tails storyline. Third movie, not letting revenge and darkness not cloud your judgment. There's so many arcs that people don't realize. They think it's just some hokey movie. It's not. So, I mean, I'm just saying this pick for a grain of salt from me, but I watched this movie and I can't understand how some of you can say some of these things, but it's like you didn't pay attention. You're too busy griping about your complaints versus actually paying attention to the story. But I will say, if you wanted to complain about one thing, why is no one bringing up the fact that Gerald and Shadow that relationship was very underwritten? In fact, Gerald in general was very much a missed opportunity. There should have been 15 minutes to just show his grief and anger and disgust, which would have been more understandable, because I understand why Gerald is the way he is at the end of the movie. The world took his daughter. I just did not like the way they wrote him at the end with the way he treated Ivo. That was dumb. That was really dumb writing, A. B, I did not like the way that they didn't capitalize on showing his grief and pain to make you actually feel something. Because that would have full circle encapsulated Maria as a better character too. This movie was too short. I hope there's a director's version that's 2.5 hours long, because that is my only problem with Sonic 3. That was very underdeveloped, and I think that was a missed opportunity. Yes, we all get hyped up because of Super Shadow, Super Sonic. That was fun. But in terms of story, we are missing like 15 to 30 minutes of Gerald and his grief and the relationship between him and Shadow, because if you wrote it that way, you'd see that Shadow, and even like the Commander would have been also another piece to add as well to show that dynamic, because you see the Commander, his regrets, they were the thread lines of stories they should have used in this that could have put this all together as just the perfect masterpiece to tie all this up. But I think they missed the mark on that. The Gerald stuff is the one that's the big miss to me. Because if I would have wrote this movie with Gerald, it would have been showing Gerald and Maria were the only two that gave a crap about Sonic. Oh, sorry, Sonic. Gave a crap about Shadow as a human character. Even Gerald, he protected him from more risky experiments. He held off the other doctors and actually wanted to save Shadow. Actually loved Shadow as a character, and the fact that he imbued him to protect Maria, and the fact that he was a father figure to him. I didn't like the end, man. I will be honest with you. Like the way he was so easy to just attack Shadow and say, "You were really useful to me once." That's not Gerald to me. Gerald loved Shadow because that was his creation. That's a son to him. I do not like that writing. I was one thing I will disagree on. Gerald should not have been as heartless as he was, especially for Shadow. That was not good writing. And it felt as though they're trying to put it as he was using Shadow. No, they were both in grief, and both, to me, should have been written as they were both toxically using. It's just that Gerald was too far gone while Shadow had a chance. That would have been better for me. But other than that, dude, I don't know how some of y'all missed the point of this movie. It should have been 2.5 hours long. I will completely argue that under 2 hours for this, you missed on some plot points, especially with the Gerald stuff. But that's just me.